Back in 2023, I found the worst Mercedes S600 in the country. It was missing parts, it wouldn't run, there was rats living in the car, but I bought it just for this engine, so I could build my own project. This is my own supercar that I've designed, inspired by the PAGANI Zonda. So I've got the V12 steel tube chassis. I'm going to have a carbon tub monocoque on the inside, and it's going to have a full carbon body. The first job today is I need to look at modifying this rear subframe so that I can get the transaxle in, or whatever gearbox solution I'm going with. I'm keeping it quite flexible so I can chuck in any gearbox I want. This is the original subframe from the Mercedes. I'm using it because it's already got good geometry. I have extended it slightly, but it's going to be a good starting point. Now I'm just planning the shape of this beam. I'm just trying to figure out where it wants to go, and then I'll make a proper template. So that's the starting point. I'm going to make the proper template now and then transfer it to steel. Here's the first plate done and ready to test fit on the car. If you enjoy this, give me a thumbs up. It takes a lot of work making these videos. That fits quite well for a first try. So that's a rough position. It's going to come further back. As it comes further back, it gets narrower. So I'm going to take off a small amount of material just to get it to fit a little bit better. Here's another one that I've made. It's basically the same, but I've chopped the corners so it'll fit in between these plates. So them two go together like that to make it really strong. And I'm going to have a piece over the top that'll weld in from the inside. There's also going to be a portion at the bottom that's going to be welded in, but I'm going to leave the sides open so I can still get to these bolts. So you can see it's actually made quite a nice shape because these are curved and angled. It means you get a nice wide bit at the end, really thin in the middle, and then wide at the end again. This makes it stronger, but it also looks quite nice. So that's now tacked in place. Now I'm going to remove it so I can get better access for welding. The next step is to probably make a top cap to stop these from moving. These are really strong, but obviously they will flex ever so slightly in the middle. But I can feel already just running a few tacks. That's going to really be a good addition to this rear subframe. These are just the temporary bolts. The actual bolts are way longer. So I've put these in for now, just so I can do this setup. Just taking them in and out is obviously quite a pain. It's such a long thread, but I want it like that. Give lots of strength, so this whole thing's really tied in. Awesome. That's what I've got. This whole beam's going to get welded in. Now I can make the top plate for it and a bit of a bottom plate. That's the rear beam, now roughly tack welded in place. I wanted to make sure I tacked it on the car just so it didn't twist. That's the beam now all cleaned up. I've cleaned all the weld off the outside. The inside's still got nice big chunky weld in there. So that's going to look really good when it's done and be nice and strong. I've also started working on another beam at the back of the subframe. So this one's going to fit at the front. That one's going to be at the back. It's pretty much the same as the original Mercedes design, but I've made it all higher just to get that clearance. I'm going to have a bar in between these two parts and this one, just because I've got that nice straight shape, so I might as well add the extra strength. I'm just going to have a top cap, the same as the other one. I'm making this one off camera just to speed things up. So now let's get this primed up, and then we can start looking at getting these fitted on the car. That's the rear beam now tacked in place. This one's in 2 pieces. So that's the first half already on. I'm going to get these internal welds done. Then I can cover it over with the second piece. So I've just finished installing this cover piece. All the internal welds have been done. I've fully welded all this and finished it all. So now it's time for the top cap. That's both beams now fabricated and painted. This rear one's taken a lot of work. It's such a massive piece. But now we're ready to chop out the old beams. So to do that, I'm going to separate this rear subframe from the rest of the car to get better access. Chop these out, and then we can see what space we've got to work with for a gearbox. That's the car now separated. Now I can chop out this old rear beam that we don't need anymore. So I've just made the first cut, and the 2 pieces did not ping apart. They stayed together and straight, so that's really good. I spent so much time really trying not to warp these pieces, only welding a little bit at a time, taking breaks and trying not to deform any of this subframe, so it looks like it's paid off. Now I'm going to chop the rest of this beam out. That's the first beam out. That went surprisingly well. I was expecting it to really ping as soon as I cut this thing apart, because when you weld, it normally puts tension in the material. Sometimes you can do your absolute best not to bend things and it still bends anyway. In this case, I got quite lucky. Even though I put a lot of effort into trying not to bend it, it's still surprising at the end when you figure out it all worked, which is fantastic. So now this monstrosity can go in the bin. That beam has also gone very well. It's not moved at all. I still see the light down the cut. That's the old beam now chopped out. Now that all this junk has been chopped out of there and I've done some grinding on the subframe, I can now wheel it back towards the car. I can now remove these bits because I'm done with the grinding. So that's the subframe reattached the first time with all this open space. It's great to finally see it like this. I've been planning it for so long, but now it's finally here. I've got to add these bars back in just to brace this thing again, and then I can put a gearbox underneath here. So I'm just using these temporary bolts for now to hold these tie rods on. I've actually welded the nut on the inside, so these just screw straight in. Eventually these will be Loctited, and there's also going to be another plate on this side that's going to bolt into these fittings. So that's the subframe reattached, bars back in place. Now we can see just how much space has been created. So this is an Audi A1E. These are actually quite rare in the UK. So this is the strongest version of the Audi/Porsche transaxle setup. This isn't necessarily the final solution for this, but this is one of my options. There's more expensive options like the Porsche G50, but they're so rare over here that the prices have just gone crazy now. These are quite expensive, but I managed to snag these quite cheap. My ideal solution for the 6-speed transaxle would be like a Lamborghini Graziano, but I'm going to see how this works because these are supposed to be quite strong gearboxes. This is the one with the really thick drive shaft. This is the earliest version of the A1E, so it's got the biggest diameter shaft, so these can take a lot of torque and power. The only disadvantage with these is the drive shafts come out quite low, but I do have a solution for what I'm going to do on that if I end up using this. So let's get this cleaned up and test fit it in the vehicle. So I've cleaned this up as much as I can, but it's covered in CV boot grease, so nothing that I've put on has managed to get rid of it. Not like brake cleaner, carb cleaner, petrol. So the only way to do it is to use a screwdriver and scrape each individual bit and brush every little surface. So I'm going to leave that for now because it's just going to take too long. I don't even think a pressure washer would do much to it. I think it's so in the pores of the aluminium, it's all casting. This bit's steel. That's for the strength. That's the steel bit where the gears sit. So because this is a transaxle, the clutch is on this end. It sends the power to the gear set back here, and then the gear set sends a shaft back forward to the differential. So in the 4-wheel drive version, you normally have a shaft coming out here as well, but because this is a 2-wheel drive, you've only got the shaft going forward to these 2 points. But that's what makes these really good for kit cars and GT40s, that kind of thing. So let's get this tested finally, and we can see how this thing's going to look.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the
There we go, fits like a glove.
sour, take a cold shower, scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder.
I'm just trying not to scratch the new primer and the new bits that I've put on, even though they will get a final coating.
I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm f***ed off at these f***ing clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.
So that's the first time test fitting that. Seems to fit really well. This bar was always going to be really tight clearance, but it seems to have worked. So the rear of the car ends about here. So I'm going to have the diffuser coming up around whatever gearbox I use. Obviously I can modify that quite easily if I need more room. But the rear is going to end here, bumper's going to be like here, exhaust is going to come just through these gaps, come up and then over into the muffler boxes, come across into a final X pipe and come out with the exits. I may even delete the X pipe and just have the exhaust cross over to each side like a PAGANI, where there's no actual internal merging, but it's all done externally. So this will mean I'll have an exhaust from each bank on each side. So this bank will have an exhaust here and there. This bank will have an exhaust here and there. So each side has mixed exhaust. So that might be the way to do it. That's looking good. So there's the 01E mounted behind the M120 V12. It looks quite small compared to the engine. But that's how these transaxles are. You can really see just how massive this engine is now. And let's see how these drive shaft angles work. That's actually not as bad as I thought. I did calculate all this, but it looks like it's not actually bad. That might be okay. So it's quite hard to see in here, but I'm going to do this anyway, so that will be the drive shaft angle. I think the main clearance problems come when the suspension goes up. That's when these drive shafts do go up further. So while it's actually driving, it's not going to be a problem. The car will also have suspension lift, so that will push these down, which is fine. So I've just set these drive shafts up on pieces of wood, just so I can see the angles. It's going to be quite hard to show because I've got so much steel work here now in the way. But if I can get it in there, see the drive shaft angle is not actually that bad. So I was thinking this option might not be the best, but from the looks of it, it looks quite good. There's only going to be about 80mm of suspension on this car, so the ride height is going to be about 120mm or almost 5 inches, so 12 centimeters. So that's my first option, the Audi 01E, because these are quite strong. They are quite rare though, because they never sold the Audis in the UK, but I've managed to score some of these that I can use. I'm probably going to rebuild one if I put it in this car, I'll just change the synchro meshes, just update everything to make it nice and new, probably give it a new coat of paint, get rid of all this old grease, get it sandblasted. But that's actually looking like quite a good solution for this thing. It looks like it fits really quite well. I think because my wheels are so wide on this car, it makes the drive shaft angles better than most people have cars that are a bit more skinny. So I think I could actually run this and it would work quite well. The gearbox is sat at the perfect height to be in line with the crankshaft of the engine. So I just need to make some spaces down here to join two together, and that will be a very good solution. If anyone's using one of these O1Es in your project, let me know how you're getting on with it. I know a lot of the GT40 community tend to use these. The only downside is drive shaft angles, but to my knowledge, a lot of people don't struggle with it because you just work around that kind of part of the problem. I think on my build, because the build's so wide, I'm not having the same problems that people would have. I think the GT40 is quite a bit slimmer than this car. This car's gonna be 2 meters wide, so that helps the drive shafts come up slightly at a better angle. The M120 is actually quite a tall engine as well because it's still got its sump, but the Zondas actually have the same sump. The Zondas have the same dipstick and the same sump as my build. So originally I thought the Zondas had dry sumps, but if you look, none of the Zondas at all have dry sump. Whether it's the Cinques, the Tricolor, any of them, they've all got the standard M120 dipstick, they've all got the standard sump. So my M120 here's got a mid sump. The Zondas, I believe, use the front sump version that was used in the S600. They're just a slightly different variant, but it's the same engine, same exact engine. The later Zondas obviously use an AMG version of this, but it's based on the same architecture. It's just got uprated cams, billet crankshaft, titanium con rods. Obviously been bored out slightly, but other than that, it's basically the same thing. So the height of this engine is going to be more or less the same as the Zonda because they've got the same constraints that I've got. I know in some reviews people say the engine weight at the back can be felt through the steering and in the corners, but this is never going to be the fastest car or the best handling. This is just something great to drive. That's the whole point in it. It's great, something that's going to sing really loud, be fantastic to drive. Doesn't have to be the best performance, it's just got to give the best miles per mile, be really enjoyable. I really want to do things with this, so I'm building it in a way where I can do road trips with it. I want the reliable Mercedes engine, I want everything as good as possible. So we can also see from this angle how much space I've got, because that's one of the big features of this vehicle I'm building, is the engine's going to slide back for servicing. So I've got to leave at least 4 inches or 10 centimeters clearance on everything, all the engine components, so everything can all slide back in one go, so I can service the engine. So I've got multiple ways to access different parts. I want to make it really easy to service, so I can get loads of use out of this thing. So I need at least 4 inches here. You can see I've got plenty of clearance there. The reason this beam was curved was so that the gearbox can slide under this beam, which that's going to work really well. I've got tons of space there. So I'm going to be cable shifting this gearbox so that I can slide the engine back. So I'm going to have the cables come out and round if I use this gearbox, which now I know it fits, it's probably more likely I'm probably going to use this. It saves quite a lot of money, and that's money I've put into other builds. I'm extremely pleased that this subframe came out this well, that when I cut through the old beams, the beams didn't move, so this whole thing is still absolutely perfect. If I need to in the future, I can of course change these top arms for adjustable top arms, but the way the S600 was set up was that the rear was not adjustable at all. All the adjustment was done on the front. I'm pretty much following the same kind of practices for this. If you enjoyed this, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below. It all helps. me do the next video, because it just takes so much energy doing these things. I know it looks, when it's edited, like it's been done in a day or a couple of days, but it's so much work. It's many days of welding, grinding, all rolled into one. But it's great to start seeing it come together. Like with that rear beam, it's been something I've been planning for ages. I've been measuring to see if a gearbox will fit, and until now I didn't 100% know how it was going to fit. I just knew it would fit somehow. So it's fantastic to start seeing this thing come together. This rear engine bay is going to be a real spectacle, because the engine cover is going to open that way, hinged from these top points, so it's going to be a massive piece. It's going to look really good. Tell me about your projects in the comments, if you've got a dream build or you're building something already. I want this channel to be somewhere where people can talk about the projects.
It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to win the crown. I ripped off at these fucking crowds. For all time they deserve it now. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.
Thanks for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. I really enjoy reading everyone's comments, and it keeps me going, seeing all the positive comments, because it takes so much time doing all this stuff. So much fabrication time went into these beams. I hope everyone enjoyed watching me make them. It's great to start to see this thing come together. Now I've got a gearbox actually in here, I can start planning more. I appreciate any positive comments. It really helps keep me motivated and keep me going. This stuff takes a lot of time. Obviously setting up the camera, moving the camera and all that, it's a lot of effort. So I'm hoping everyone's enjoying seeing this build come together. It's really great finally seeing this thing come to life. I've had it in my head for like so many years, probably 20 odd years I've had this design in my head. And I've obviously designed it in CAD as well. So I've moved my drawings into CAD, but until you actually see things come together in the real world, you don't get that rewarding feeling, or you don't see some of the problems or some of the things you can do. It's great starting to see it come together. It's taken so many hours making these beams, grinding, welding. It's been days of grinding and welding. Of course, I've got these painted now. These are almost finished. This beam's completely done. This beam's done. I've got to grind some of these old beam spots away still. And there's a few more little things here and there, but it's starting to come together. So this is one last look around the gearbox. So you can see the nice end cap there, all aluminium. Around here we've got the bolting points where you can mount the gearbox. Obviously the drive shafts attached here. There's the slave cylinder. Here's the gear change mechanism. Like I said, I'm going to be cable driving that, so I can move the engine back and the cables can move, like flex with it. They don't have to be a solid rod. Around here you've got the detents that adjust how strong the gear feels. So if it's getting weak, you can always upgrade them or make them stronger. I believe the reverse switch goes in here. You've also got a wheel speed sensor here that I can always use if I want to.